many times should the officers allow somebody to commit said crime? And then how long should they wait when vehicular homicide is being committed in real time against them, as far as they know? That is the case that those on the left, or those saying this is a bad shoot, need to make right now. Let me set this up for you. Before I get to the clips, because you've likely seen these clips, but we're going to actually provide all of them to you in a quadrant view. Here's what we know. 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was shot, killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. Okay. She was there to protest ICE. She was, from what we understand, deliberately there to obstruct. She knew there were federal agents at the time. She was nonviolently warned. She was stopped behind a car at the moment of the incident. She chose to hit the accelerator at full throttle and knowingly steered it toward the path where multiple officers were. We know an officer was hit, and we know that she was shot, first shot coming through the front of the windshield. We know all of these things. Here's what we don't know. Did she intend to illegally hit the officer or just illegally flee? And could the officer have gotten out of the way in time? So we're going to go through all of the available evidence and say, okay, can we make an inference? But that's what we know, that's what we don't know, and then there are some unknowns. So for those of you who missed it yesterday, obviously an ICE officer shot this woman in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Here is the video that you likely saw if you don't work in news and politics full time. Shot her. She hit him and he shot her.
You are fucking criminals! You're fucking criminals! What the fuck? What the fuck? What the actual fuck? You are fucking insane! What did you do? You!
Also, just for a second, I can get that you don't like it. I can get that you think it's a bad shoot. But shocked? Shocked that someone who just hit an officer violently, who, by the way, was in the middle of committing, I've counted at least 3 crimes. Shocked that the officer shot? Comment below. Is that a genuine reaction? And if it is, that's a very sad state of affairs for America. Now, here is every legitimately available angle that we were able to find. There's 4. And we want to show it to you all at once. We matched up the, synced up the time codes. That'll be relevant as we come back to it. Yeah. And that's also just to cut off at the past people going, well, actually, you should look at the, we've looked at all angles. So you now know what we know, what we don't know. You've seen every available angle. And that's very important because I want you to, with that context, understand that the left and the city of Minneapolis thinks and wants you to believe that this situation warrants George Floyd 2.0 and the fallout therein. Here they are making the case out loud.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying.
There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans.
And Jim Norton lookalike signers.
ICE has been carrying out state-sanctioned violence in our communities. We have seen them terrorize so many of citizens in the 5th District and across Minnesota. And that has tragically led to this murder that we all watched on TV.
I think they should get the heck out of town. They are not contributing in any way. In fact, they're hurting people in my community.
We've seen what
But enough about Somalis.
To this woman for, I believe it was just a few blocks away from where George Floyd was murdered. And what we need to see is this incident prosecuted. What we saw today was a criminal
in the car
murder a woman and shoot her in the head while she was trying to escape and flee for her life.
Do you have no decency? Do you have no decency? We have someone dead in their car for no reason whatsoever.
Unless you count hitting a cop.
For ICE.
Or sorry, officer.
To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
No.
We do not want you here.
Don't be that. You're tough when you curse. Yeah, no kidding. Mexican flag there.
That's we as Mexicans.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It ain't it. And Minneapolis is the good place to start because we know how to handle this shit.
As officers are
Guy can't handle a job.
Just having some protesters or bystanders, agitators,
Be an Andrew WK decoy.
throwing some snowballs at them.
Minneapolis Public Schools has canceled school for the rest of the week due
Terrible
to
idea,
ICE
by the way.
inflicting terror on the area.
Kind of like canceling it because of COVID and shooting citizens with paintballs.
Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead.
Oh, you mean the voting blocks that you bought? Okay, so I want to go through these claims sequentially so that you remember where this argument started and how many times the goalposts have been moved. But we'll go through all of them. It's time for Claim Truth. Now, remember, when this was breaking while we were live yesterday, we didn't have all the information.
Right.
I'm very glad that everyone here usually takes the approach of being prudent. And we did. Now we do have said information. At that point in time, the argument was our officials, they'd released a statement saying someone used their car as a weapon, hit an officer, and he acted in self-defense. Which brings us to the first claim. The argument started off with this officer was hit. No, he wasn't. The claim was, no, she did not hit an officer.
He was not hit by the car. He was not touched by the car. He took one step to his right and got out of the way of the car, meaning that the use of the deadly force did not change the trajectory of the car, did not help the situation at all, and though it may have been justified under the law, absolutely unnecessary.
And of course, that was all over X and social like a cancer yesterday. Here's the truth. Of course, she hit the officer. So if people were arguing in good faith, meaning if the left wanted to actually come to a solution, so the officer wasn't hit. Well, no, actually he was. Oh, okay, our bad, we're sorry. We'll try and do better next time. Instead, what did we see? Goalpost move!
Move the goalpost.
And the second claim. Well, okay, so maybe the officer was hit, but she wasn't trying to hit the officer.
Wait, there it is.
I had my perception of what took place based on the vehicle and the vehicle's positioning. It does not appear that The individual's trying to ram anybody.
Okay, here's the truth. She did. But she did. Nope, stop, wait. She did. Full throttle. Notice the tire spin and the body tilt. And I want you to imagine yourself. When you leave a parking spot, do you typically spin your wheels and do you feel the vehicle roll back and to the right? Is that what usually happens at low speed, or does it happen when you smash the gas pedal? Back and to the left. Sorry, I said right earlier.
It's also important to notice that it's on an icy road and that front wheel starts spinning.
Yeah.
It's not getting traction because it's on the ice.
Right.
And it doesn't get traction until the wheel spins enough that it moves.
Right.
And that happens. The wheel will move itself on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
So the wheels were pointed right at him.
Yes. And we'll get to the claim, too, because they try and claim. Actually, the wheels were aimed away from him, but the wheels were aimed right at him. Also, again, context here. What do you think the officer heard with it being hit full throttle? You guys know the difference, the sound of a car with a very low, slow hum versus a loud roar? Yeah, that might actually cause you to panic, especially if you're being hit by a vehicle. So, well, she didn't mean to hit him. The truth is, obviously, she should know. I can't tell you that she meant to hit him 100%, but she should know that hitting the accelerator and rocketing out of there in the path where the only path actually, where there are people right in her proximity, could result in someone being hit. But it doesn't matter, because then goalpost move again.
Move the goalpost.
Which brings us to the third claim that they made. Well, okay, all right. So even if she did knowingly or reasonably, should expect to potentially hit the officer, she wasn't actively trying to kill him, though. Hitting is not killing. So the ICE officer, right, that can't be considered. He didn't act in self-defense.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying.
It's interesting that he uses the word reckless, because that brings us to the truth. Of course he acted in self-defense, because at that moment in time, she'd already committed multiple crimes, including reckless driving, including failure to obey a peace officer, including fleeing a peace officer, obstructing traffic. You could argue stalking, because she continued to follow them from what we know. Assault with a dangerous weapon, that occurred after assault on a federal officer. Now you could add attempted murder of a federal officer, potentially domestic terrorism. But at least at that moment in time when he drew his weapon, she had already committed 3 serious crimes at minimum and was potentially going to commit 4th, 5th, 6th. He didn't know, just heard the roar of the engine and saw the spin of the tires from a lady who had been obstructing traffic and screaming at ICE all day. Here's kind of a supplement that they've made to their claim here. There's another claim that they've made. And I told this man, author Don Winslow, that I would address him by name because he's such a piece of shit. I love it. So there are quite a few people saying this. This is the one that got the most traction. Well, the wheels are aimed away from the officer, so he should see that. He could have easily seen that as a clear sign of intent. Here's Don Winslow writing about that. The wheels are fully turned away from the officer. Watch in slow-mo. We will. No intention, in my opinion, to hit anyone. Sole intention based on wheel/steering wheel to leave that scene, not a threat. Look at the wheel. Well, here's the truth. They were aimed at the officer. I don't know if you know. That's why she hit him. Yep. The wheels do then turn, which this officer would have had to witness within 0.79 seconds. That's how long it took from his weapon being drawn and the wheels being turned while she was already on a trajectory to hit him. 0.79 seconds is about how long it took. It would take place.
The definition of a split second.
The definition of a split second. And so we decided to find the closest vehicle that we could to recreate this scenario. Exact angle, exact distance. I'll be the officer. Josh will be the attempted vehicular homicide assailant. And I can put this one to bed. Again, it matters because the goalposts have been moved, right? They started off with she didn't hit anyone. But we'll go through all of them as to remove all doubt. Here you go, and draw your own conclusions. I'm at the exact distance, exact angle where he would be. Should be able to see the wheel turn within that fraction of a second, right? I've chosen to use a tiny little Keltec unloaded with a laser so you can see. So he's right here. All right, from here I can't see the wheel. He draws his gun and then, yeah, you try and hit me now. She comes forward a little bit, okay? There you go, that's enough. Collapses. He has his hand. Can you just move the wheels a bunch, like go left to right? So. Yeah, there's no chance. There's no chance. You can't see it. Minutes there, Toolman. Wow. Did you mean 2 minutes of black?
2 minutes? There was a minute of black in the end.
Oh, good. Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Just found a way to fit a little racism in there.
Sounds like a Jordan Peele movie. A minute of black.
Yes, exactly.
1 minute till black.
19 awards. Here, by the way, is the bullet hole in the front of the windshield. So you know that, I believe you have that overlay B6. So you know that the first shot went through the front of the windshield, okay? As it was coming around. Now, here's why that matters. You see that there, and keep in mind that GoPro is aimed down. That camera is aimed down where he would not be looking. And you could not see the tires move. It gets even worse when you understand that most officers and a lot of the military, they're taught one of two different ways. You know, there's a whole argument in the gun community, they're very autistic about front sight focus or target focus. That's why people kind of move to red dots. If you ask any good shooters, they'll say it's a mix of both, right? If you focus on the front sight, the target's a little bit blurry. And if you focus on the target, the sight is a little bit blurry. Depending on the distance, you might pick one or the other. Usually it's a hybrid. And the reason that matters is because it changes your peripheral vision. So you couldn't see it with a wide angle lens compared to the human eye, let alone adrenaline and potential. Focusing as trained on that front sight. Let me show you what that actually looks like and how it affects your vision. Rear sight, front sight, target. That also would have been much more similar to the angle of his vision.
Why is that me?
It's all we had.
It's not.
It's what we prefer.
I made a decision. It's not you. It's Gerald C. Yeah. That's a whole different person.
So let me ask you, because do you think that holds any water whatsoever? It should have seen the tires.
No.
Should have seen the tires. Come on, that's really clear. Should have seen the tires. We've had all these, we had the same arguments with George Floyd. Shouldn't have taken him out of the car. He asked for it. He literally, I don't mean he was asking for it. He asked for it. He was put in an air-conditioned car with the windows open until he requested getting out of the vehicle and resisted. Don't let them do this again. We've already gone through 2 or 3 goalpost moves, but we're going to continue anyway. Here's another claim that they make. This was, well, at the end of it, this was just a woman trying to escape and leave the situation, according to this eyewitness who slightly resembles the Handmaid's Tale, who you wouldn't enslave.
They didn't really know what they were doing. They were screaming at her to move, move, move. And then they approached her vehicle aggressively and tried to open her door. And then that's when she got spooked and she reversed
wrong place, wrong time.
To turn her wheels to try to escape. And that's when an ICE agent stepped in front of her vehicle and said, stop. And then, I mean, she was already moving.
Step in front of it?
Point blank shot her through her windshield.
Yeah, so she was wrong place, wrong time. This was her first encounter with an ICE officer. Thank God I stayed up late watching CNN with very little sleep, because here's the truth. Straight from the horse face's mouth, same person, she was there impeding the officers and very likely as a deliberate agitator. That's what she says.
They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her.
Leading.
But she was very she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah.
So it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely, yeah, that was her goal.
Oh,
okay, well.
She was leading the protest. Definitely, that's what she was doing, impeding ICE vehicles. It doesn't seem like she was just some woman caught at the wrong time, wrong place, wrong time, attempting to flee. Seems like this woman chose to put herself there repeatedly. And that changes the approach from ICE. Do you guys understand that? We'll get to, remember during the Summer of Love, ambulances and fire trucks not being able to save people because the cops who clear the way were blocked? Do you remember that?
Well, it's okay for citizens to block.
Yeah.
To block traffic.
Yes.
Their bodies.
Yes. I don't know about you, but when I don't know where to park, I go, how about perpendicular on this one lane street?
Yes. With snow all around.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
She waved him through. Well, you don't get to do that when you're blocking the road. Also, she was blocking repeatedly. Now, here's someone else, a woman claiming to, as far as we know right now, to be the lady in question, Good's wife. Here she is on video saying that the wife, I made her come down here, and it's my fault.
Hey, was you riding with her?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you call any of your people yet?
We're new here. I don't have.
So you don't got none of her family members or anybody number? Do you know anybody on her Facebook? Alright. Damn. Oh my gosh, this is horrible, y'all.
Well, good thing that she was there to talk with that strong ally who, they were in it together. It should be noted the citizen journalist in question was immediately distracted.
Oh, you know how black people is, phone she thick as hell.
I mean, he ain't wrong, so he's getting the facts straight.
Let's hire him.
He's probably not your shoulder to cry on, sweetheart. By the way, that same woman allegedly can be seen filming from outside the car prior to the shooting.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, there's some information coming in.
That's her nervous?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Complete, and then very surprised afterward. This was just
hold on, Stephen, I'm sorry. They were just doing a U-turn. Why would she have been filming anything? Why would anybody have been filming somebody doing a U-turn? That seems to be a very kind
before
of
the
thing.
approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? Your guess is as good as mine. Here's another claim that they make. We're going through all of this. You can check the references. Well, she was actually being really nice. She was just trying to wave ICE through, not obstruct. Yeah, she was just a good Samaritan playing a crossing guard. But here's the truth. In combination with what you just saw from the eyewitness, when she didn't realize that it would be nationally broadcast, she was there all day leading the protests, impeding the officers. Combine that with Noam saying, so we're going on her information, and he'll say he said, she said, but this also includes witnesses. This lady, Mrs. Good, was stalking and impeding ICE all day.
ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day.
So here's the point where we get to some of the context, okay? You now have all the facts that are available. If she was leading the protests and impeding ICE all day, and we've seen how violent those protests and those professional agitators can be, that changes the context of the approach. If you actually are just some random person who skid on the ice and you find yourself perfectly perpendicular in the road, and the officer said, hey, you have to get out. You go, no, hey, go around me. The officer might go, hey, look, hey, man, you can't be here. You got to move. The difference is, since she had been there the entire day and she pulled up and she's right there blocking them from where they need to go, going, no, go around me. Go. The officer's probably going, not this again. I'm not doing this. Get out. That does matter.
Josh, what are you doing?
Securing my financial future, Gerald. What does it look like?
It looks like you're digging a hole, Josh.
Yeah?
That's what it looks like.
And?
Well, okay, why are you digging a hole?
For gold, Gerald. It's the best investment you can make. Something wonky happens to the economy, Armageddon, bombs start going off, everybody fails, banks fail. I got the good stuff. I'm set.
Gold?
Shh! Yes!
Josh, why don't you just try True Gold Republic? Why don't you give those guys a call or go to lwcgold.com, see if you qualify for one of those no-fee-for-life gold IRAs, and make it simple. It's easy.
It's really that easy?
Yes, you don't have to dig for gold. Put that down. No, put it down. That down.
I kind of like it.
Put that down. Let's go.
Let True Gold Republic help you safeguard your retirement with physical gold and silver. Go to lwcgold.com or call 800-628-4653. Sign up or call today and see if you qualify for a no-fees-for-life IRA.
Come on.
Because the crime was repeatedly committed prior to this. You understand that, right? How many times should the officers allow somebody to commit said crime? And then how long should they wait? When vehicular homicide is being committed in real time against them, as far as they know. That is the case that those on the left, or those saying this is a bad shoot, need to make right now. The case they tried to make before is the officer wasn't hit. The fact that he was hit, for me, that's it.
Done.
We're done. But even now, that's the case that needs to be made. If you cannot make that case, you cannot try, charge, convict this man, even if he's a prick. Guarantee you they're going to be trying to give him the Zimmerman Floyd treatment, Zimmerman Chauvin treatment. He was a real jerk. It couldn't be less relevant. The case you need to make is a number. How many times should they allow their work to be impeded, to be obstructed?
The left's answer is infinite.
Yes. Yeah.
They should totally be allowed to impede in any operation.
The left's argument is they should literally be allowed to drive recklessly, and you should be required to practice restraint. Let me ask you this. If this guy was run over and never walked again, how much wall-to-wall coverage do you think there would be? Let me ask you this. If this guy was run over and never walked again, and you are literally a split second away from that, just to be clear, this is not some reach. How many protests do you think there would be? How many violent protests? I can give you the answer. When Charlie Kirk was violently assassinated in public view, there were no violent protests. Two numbers that the left needs to present, and their ilk, like libertarians and black pillars. Mm-hmm. How many times should someone be allowed to impede federal officers, obstruct, and how long should said officer have to wait when a vehicle is going straight toward them? And I guess you can add to that, how long after they've been hit? Because all those things happened.
I bet if that officer had been dragged by the car, you'd see Mayor Jacob Fry come out and go, hey, look, ICE, this is going to keep happening if you guys don't leave.
Yeah.
That would be his messaging.
We told you this is unsafe for all of us.
Coming.
Come on. Yeah. We want to avoid this. Yeah, if you want to avoid violence, that's why you commit a felony repeatedly and impede people from doing their lawfully delegated job.
And for those of you who think maybe that this officer overreacted, it was merely a flesh wound if he was going to get tagged by that car. Here's a clip. Looks like same angle, looks like an SUV. Didn't work out so well.
As the Jeep continued to advance, Officer Caprio got off one shot. WJZ won't.
They won't show the rest because the officer, I believe, was killed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You see how that is? Right there.
And she got a shot off. 2 shots, I think.
One. Yeah. Do you know who else was hit by a car at almost this exact angle? Me.
Really?
Mm-hmm. As a child. I've told the story before. You know what saved me? I jumped.
Yeah.
Instinctively, so I rolled up on the windshield.
I thought you were going to say you were armed.
That person.
Nope. I was crossing a street, the corner of Reed Street, R-E-I-D, and Victoria, in St. Lambert, Quebec. 2 parked cars. I couldn't see. Someone across the street, the cross section, waved me forward. I came forward, and the car hit. So I was on the front left side of that bumper, right? Because it was immediate, my first step out of those parked cars, and I just instinctively jumped, so I rolled up the hood and rolled down. If I didn't jump, they said I probably would have fractured my spine so severely that I wouldn't have walked. Now, we can't know that. The point is, it was pretty shitty for me that day, and it's pretty scary. And I'll tell you this, you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's happening a little while after it. And that wasn't even an SUV. I believe it was a Honda Civic. By the way, best way to stay in touch, because I don't know if this will be removed from social media because they apply the rules selectively, right? Well, you guys can run the footage, but you know what? You're actually showing violence, so we're going to remove your video. So download the Rumble app. Follow me there. That's also, by the way, the place from which we pulled all of these different angles because some of them were being removed on social and they were kind of hard to find. So, yeah, no, that happens all the time. We have some more videos.
Well, but it happened. Potentially, this guy was in a similar situation or was attacked. We're trying to find more information, but Kristi Noem actually said 6 months ago, this same officer or this same agent, whichever title is correct here, was in a similar situation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Elon Musk actually put this out on X as well, but I think we have a montage of her saying this.
I got it.
Right here.
The very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June. He sustained injuries at that time as well.
Tuesday morning, agents pulled him over.
I'll explain to you afterwards. Someone, never mind, I'll just go by rote. It meets the actual definition of PTSD. Let's continue the montage.
Documents say he repeatedly refused to comply before a federal agent took out his spring-loaded window punch with his right hand and broke the driver's side rear window. These images show the officer's hand in the vehicle. In this video, you can see the driver take off with the agent hanging from the car, dragging him 300 feet through front yards. These graphic images show the aftermath, a bloody agent who needed 33 stitches for his significant cuts.
Yeah. Now, this is Kristi Noem saying that this was the same officer. I don't know that there's been any, independent, to make sure. So we just want to say this is what she's saying. That would make, even if that didn't happen, but you have to take into account, these officers are trained for this. If you're in front of a car and it hits the gas, it's a split second. That other officer we saw got run over from a parked car, same angle, same everything, got one shot off. Luckily, this guy stepped to the right as he was getting hit.
Well, let me, and have the goalpost move thing ready. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing with PTSD. I've had it defined very specifically by a clinical psychologist. That for PTSD to actually be diagnosed, it requires someone to find themselves in a situation where imminent death is possible, fear for their life. And they clarified and said, now with children, we do broaden that because children don't have the same understanding of the world. It just requires that they believe it. So that's why you can develop some phobias, for example, like a child could think they were fearing for their life when a spider crawled on them because as far as they know, that's a bullet, right? As an adult, it wouldn't apply. You can't say I have PTSD because there was a spider on my bedsheet. You can't say I have PTSD because I swallowed a little bit of water. A child can actually believe that they are drowning. PTSD requires actual fear for your life. Here's why this matters. After Me Too, trigger warnings all across Disney. People who demanded that plays, that films, that lectures not be performed at school. Why? Because I had a bad date and it's triggering because of my PTSD. I can tell you I could point you to at least half a dozen examples and change my minds of people saying they had PTSD due to situations that would never warrant actual PTSD. So PTSD was a big conversation. It was the go-to affliction for a long time. Goalpost move!
Move the goalpost.
Hey, hold on a second. That guy has already been hit and or dragged by a car and assaulted in a scenario where he very easily could have died. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He should know better in those 0.79 seconds with the wheel that he can't see. Yeah, but you banned the English patient because he had a bad date or whatever the hell. Like, you guys are like, would be actual PTSD. Well, where's the grace? Where's the grace for someone with 30-something stitches, assuming it's true? Where's the grace for someone who was dragged behind a vehicle and then watched someone commit the same misdeeds leading up to the final great misdeed that very day? Let me ask you this. Do you think that officer may have something closer to resembling PTSD than the woman who had Aziz Ansari do a glorified claw in her mouth in his hotel room? That was a deep pull, but you guys understand. Mm-hmm. They always move the goalposts and they don't apply the standards equally. If people move goalposts and don't apply standards equally, they are not arguing in good faith and they have no interest in a resolution. Even in your real life, if someone does and then apologizes, the person needs to. The only way that you can ever have hope with a person, a group, is if there's complete accountability. There needs to be restitution. There needs to be redemption through, you know what? Not I was wrong. I did proactively and manipulatively move the goalpost to try and win, even when you were the one who was victimized. And that was really wrong of me. Unless you hear that and see that acted out, you are committing a misdeed by ever trusting the left again. I hope I've been very clear about that, because now let's go to some more context. The similarities of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all the riots, the billions of dollars in damages, the thousands of casualties that went on, the changes in our criminal laws, and yes, many scenarios in which those protesters, those rioters, did what? Did what? Hit cops with cars. Somali?
Jesus.
That's a f***ing cop!
Where could this guy have made the inference that he may be at risk?
Just moments before the hit and run happened, that car hit a Denver police vehicle, injuring those 3 police officers and a civilian.
A calm scene, maybe 5 minutes ago, there was someone that was on one of the four-wheelers. He came flying past all of the officers, and it appears that an Atlanta police officer was in the roadway and was hit by that four-wheeler.
Yeah, and let's add to that context. Yeah. There has been a 1,150% increase in attacks on ICE agents in 2025 alone. 1,150% increase. There were 19 attacks in 2024, 238 attacks on ICE agents in 2025. And you have to understand that's not like you go, that's not that much. Well, if you were applying that as far as assaults or battery to the population at large, there aren't that many ICE agents, and there aren't that many instances where there would be interactions. This is a very, very high percentage of interactions. There is a good likelihood that if you are an ICE agent at some point in time, you are going to be attacked violently, and you have to be ready for it. And you know what? It doesn't just affect officers. Mm-hmm. Do you remember at the other protests, emergency vehicles were blocked, and as a result, people didn't get the medical care that they needed? By the way, we'll never actually have the death toll for that because it's not exactly quantified.
Wow.
Why is your virtue signaling more important than potentially a child who needs blood transfusion? It could be someone who needs an EpiPen. It could be someone who needs Narcan, right? But that would be something you'd be sympathetic to because you want people to do drugs completely unfettered and have ATM machines for Narcan. Why? Well, here's the thing. You don't know what that ambulance is doing. You don't need to. No. We live in a society where you pull over when ambulances are going by. Why don't socialists get that? The greater good. Well, the good news is we're not asking to take your money by force. We're just asking that you moderately inconvenience yourself and create a space so that a potentially life-saving ambulance could actually help someone, or fire truck. Right? We all do that. Yeah. Not them. It's not an accident. That's a choice.
Yeah. I remember us talking about that during the Summer of Love, the riots and protests. I believe it was in Seattle or Chaz or Chop, wherever that ended up being, that we were talking about that, covering it, saying, if you had a house on fire and they were blocking a fire truck, what, like as a parent and your family's in the house, what would you do?
Shoot them.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we talked about. Like, to get them out of the way, wouldn't you just shoot them and be like, hey, my family's going to die?
Yeah.
I need that. But by the way, this happens so often. The question wasn't if Christina actually said that. She did. She was making the claim. The question was if the footage was actually that guy. So just to be clear. But isn't that crazy? We have to go and make that clarification because it happens so often. Yeah. We're not exactly sure if that's the agent being dragged or if it's another one of the agents being dragged or hit by a car.
Right.
Sorry.
And keep in mind, again, before the goalpost move, this all started off with the officer wasn't hit, so fry him. And then we had the goalpost move nonstop. Yeah, you can hit it to Lance, just so you guys. Was hit, but it wasn't that bad. It was hit, but she didn't intend to. It was hit, but she didn't intend to kill him. The officer didn't. No,
done. Sorry.
We took you at your word. This started with people saying, well, the officer was hit, acted in self-defense. One side said, no, he wasn't. Oh, case closed. We found out. We're not going to let you move the goalposts, but I'm just doing this so that everybody is prepared for the bullshit that you try and spew. Speaking of bullshit, it's almost like this was very predictable, the increase in violence. It's almost like this was predictable, more riots or protests, because I don't know if you know this, but the Democrats have been kind of in the habit of comparing not just you to Nazis, but ICE specifically to the SS and Gestapo.
How are we going to handle immigration? We all hate what Trump is doing with ICE and these masked people running around like the Gestapo. But what is Democrats' immigration policy? How are we going to take on the challenges of the future?
Yeah, and like we brought up earlier, the side-by-side. Here's the difference. A gun aimed down in a safe direction with finger off the trigger while you are already being violently assaulted versus showing up to shoot people. I know it seems like a mundane detail, but it's not.
It's the lefty. Why do they put him in the middle of the lineup? He's going to...
Also,
it pisses me off. I'm sorry.
Also important to note that this 238 attacks on ICE in the last year. This is the only American citizen that has died as a result of encounter with ICE.
Right.
There's been a few that have died in custody of ailments or diseases or whatever. First American citizen that's died as a result of confrontation with ICE in a year.
And the left wants you to think that you're at risk, right? It's like, this is just some lady, wrong place, wrong time, trying to escape in the Gestapo. When the truth is, based on all of the information that we have available, this is the only death of any American citizen. For you to be at risk, you would have to drive to a designated area, lead a protest, impede and or obstruct officers all day long, and then hit one at full throttle to be at risk. That's the reality. Now, to be an ICE officer at risk, you merely need to be.
Yeah.
So let's get to who is Renee Good, the person in question. Of course, no one is happy that this person is dead. I will tell you, I don't consider it the same level of tragedy as Zarutska. I don't.
Not at all.
Here's why. Irina Zarutska, for those of you who've forgotten, dear God, I hope you haven't, Carolina on the train, was the victim of the system. The system had failed her because this man was released, I'm going by memory, I believe 13 or 14 times, serial violent criminal, DeCarlos Brown Jr. Renee Good is the victim precisely of her decisions throughout the day repeatedly. It's very, very different. Yeah. Zarutska didn't choose catch and release. Zarutska didn't make the decision to enact cash bail. Zarutska didn't make the decision to put this guy on public transit despite clearly being mentally none of those which led to her senseless murder were her decisions. Renee Good did choose to show up. She did choose to lead a protest. She did choose to obstruct federal officers from doing the job that they have been granted the authority to do in the form of a national election. One is dealing with the consequences of others' bad decisions, the decisions of the left. The other is dealing with the consequences of your own bad decisions. It doesn't mean that it should always result in death or that that's a good outcome, but it's a very possible one when you're pressing it. So I don't consider them the same level of tragedy. You guys can comment if you think that's cold. I would prefer if Renee Good is still alive today.
Yeah, I would have preferred if she had, peacefully protested and yelled all of her obscenities and then went home.
Let me ask you this: if you have kids, if you're watching, and God forbid, if you came home one day and you found out that your child was dead, and you found out that your child had been killed because of some mugger who had been released 15 times, shot him or her in cold blood. I assume, right, you'd probably be really, really mad at the mugger, the criminal. You'd probably be really mad at the system. Now let's change that.
Judge or two.
Yeah. You come home and you find out that your son or daughter is dead. And you find out that they are dead because they were on a street corner at 2 a.m. starting a fist fight and died as a result. You'd probably be mad at your child for making such bad decisions. It's that simple. Doesn't mean that both are anything other than tragedies or a loss of life, but you get it. So Renee Good, 37-year-old, I believe arrived recently to Minnesota. This does matter because some people are saying she didn't live there. Why is she's clearly a professional protester who came in. I believe she had Missouri plates. No, seems that she had moved to Minnesota, mother of 3 children from 2 prior relationships. Then recently, as far as we know, started a relationship with a woman, went the other way, studied creative writing at Old Dominion University. And according to her former brother-in-law, she was a notable, outspoken liberal. But then you have people like her mother who the news will bring on, right, as though they are authoritative, saying she would never take part in any type of an ICE protest. Her mother said, "That's so stupid. Renee was one of the kindest people I've ever known. She was extremely compassionate. She's taken care of people all her life. She was loving, forgiving, and affectionate. She was an amazing human being." And you know what? That all may be true. But is it only true to people who share her ideology? Because we've seen people, especially during COVID, right, who were seemingly nice, and then they were borderline sociopathic in how much they reviled you, for example, for not believing in lockdowns, for not taking a vaccine. We've talked about this, dehumanizing, othering people. I would think that comparing people to Nazis, comparing people to the Gestapo would count. In other words, I think you could probably find an example of an Allied troop in World War II, very kind, very charitable, very compassionate person who wouldn't actually avail that compassion to a member of the Gestapo should he capture them. These people believe that you support the Gestapo. These people believe that you're Nazis. That's why Charlie Kirk was killed. That's why she justified, in her mind, to whatever severity, hitting an officer with a car. It doesn't make you a bad person, just to be clear. If you don't treat evil people equally to good people, you can still be compassionate. You can still be loving. You can still be forgiving. You can still be affectionate. You wouldn't extend that to a murderer of your wife or husband or children, and that doesn't erase any of your good qualities. It means that you're a reasonable person. The key detail here is you have almost half the country who have been convinced that you should be treated like said murderer. Otherwise, why would they go out and run someone over? And the real question here is, what kind of a country do you want to live in? That's really what we've seen the results. Yeah. We could have a country like we did after George Floyd, which was, by the way, big lie thrust upon the American people. Let's call it a gray area. There were some bad decisions at different points in time. But that situation was a serial felon, violent felon, who disobeyed orders from authorities who were very kind with him leading up to that, if you watch the full footage. Put in an air-conditioned vehicle with the windows opened. I believe the windows were open, kind of closed, and the air was turned on several times until he requested to get out of the car. At a certain point in time, as the situation escalated, you could argue, your strongest argument, the only one that I would accept, would be that there was a lapse in judgment in that moment in time when he was on the ground. But I will not accept the premise that people went out hunting black people. Okay, so you could live in a world where that happens and cities are burned down and people are shot in the streets and the police officers withdraw And you are actually charged if you protect your own property. And David Dorn, an off-duty black officer, shot dead in the streets trying to stop the looting of a friend's store, and no one gave a shit aside from you. Thank you again for donating to the family's cause. You could go through that. Or you can live in a country, and we're at a moment right now where, hey, let's just agree to say there's some gray here. I don't think there is. Let's assume that there is. And we err on the side of a guy who was hit by a vehicle by a perpetual protester who was in the middle of committing 3 felonies and had to make a literal split-second decision. And we err on the side of law and order. You do have, it is kind of a binary choice. And it's a binary choice because of the rhetoric coming from the left, because of the mayor in Minneapolis, because of the governor of Minnesota. And by the way, they really want to thrust that upon you because they really want to get their billions of dollars in fraud out of the news. What kind of country do you want to live in? This is not, do you think this was a perfect shoot? Because there will always be, when you have laws, there will always be gray areas. There will always be murky territory. That's why we have courts. It's about the jumping off point. Do we believe that we should live in a country where people should be able to consistently, repeatedly impede officers, whether federal or police officers, throw rocks at their car, assault, if mildly, people in the streets, take over city blocks, give them space to destroy? Do we believe that should be the jumping off point and the expectation should be on the victim to be perfect? Or do we believe that the jumping off point should be, you're all adults. You guys need to f***ing act like adults. Don't hit officers with your car. Because if you do, and it's a bad shoot, we'll allow it anyway. Because this is our baseline. You do have to pick a baseline. The left has made it really clear over the last few years. Their baseline is erring on the side of criminals. It always will be. They want to disarm you. They want to turn you into criminals. And they want to turn criminals into a voting bloc. I'm not just talking about this. It's not an isolated incident. You can look at all of their policies on crime. As a conservative, as an America First, whatever you want to call it, I believe that we need to err on the side of law and order or we won't have liberty. People say, freedom, man. Sure, you're free to protest. What kind of freedom do you think you enjoy when violent criminals are allowed to roam the streets unfettered? Did you feel more free during 2020? Freedom, man. They're free. Give them space to destroy. They're not going to stop, nor should they stop, said the then Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Did you feel free? Freedom, lockdowns, freedom, vaccine mandates, freedom, an entire autonomous zone, freedom. We got a Trump supporter here, bang, 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 in the head. Remember that one? Did you feel more free? Because people will often say, well, they'll always steal your freedoms under the guise of being there to help. And they usually apply that, to the government as far as Second Amendment issues or as far as First Amendment issues. Yeah, but what about the fact that your freedoms will be eroded by the government saying, hey, we're here to right wrongs. These are just some people who've had some tough breaks. And you know what? Sure, she impeded officers throughout the day and led the protests and hit one with her car, but that's no reason to pay with her life. Actually, it is. It very much is. That's my baseline. What kind of a country do you want to live in? Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.